Good morning. You made it to another day. Praise Yahweh. Well, as you can see, my topic to those who listen. Thank you, subscribers who've been here. Thank you to my new subscribers. Um, you know, may God be with you. May the blessings overflow and overtake you. But my topic is talking about New Breed Global. You know, I don't really like talking about actual YouTube content creators unless I don't know. I just don't, you know. Uh, my whole, I never knew anything about YouTube, and someone had showed me something about YouTube. I was only in it for the music. I had no idea that it had different things that you could get into um, that would interest you. I had no idea. I just always thought it was just about music and music videos, and um, and then it just started getting deeper for me. Like, wow. And then I said, okay, it's YouTube, duh. And so, other streams have came in. Now I understand what the algorithms that came into my to my channel, and I'm saying, what is this? What is this? Some things are okay, and I just really didn't understand YouTube, and I always try to stick with what I know, and YouTube has just become a part of my life, and certain things I didn't know how to do or didn't know understand things. It's right here on YouTube. Like the lawnmower. When I had to start cutting my grass, when I had to start cutting my grass, I was just about ready to throw that thing away. And then I just took a simple glimpse at YouTube. It only took me 3 minutes to figure out that I needed another filter. And I said, what? Let me hurry up and drive and get this filter. So I'm saying it has helped me a lot with the things that I don't know about and with people. And when I say people, I mean people like New Breed Global, um, that I had never met him before this, that he just popped up on my screen, and I didn't understand who he was. There was never any pictures or anything from when I first understand who he was. I just was mesmerized by his tone of voice and what he was speaking, and never seen him, never saw a picture of him, and it made me tune in because a lot of times in life, it's hard to find something or anything that resembles you, and it struck my interest, and so that's how I started hearing New Breed Global um, in its earlier stages, and it was really authentic. Um, his talking points was like, you know what? If somebody, I know ain't nobody, it was just too much of me, and usually my family members be like, oh my God, here she go, and so it gave me an outlet to actually have somebody that understands that understands me, and I don't have to filter it. I can just talk how I want to talk with this person if I ever met this person or whatever. And so when I understood, it kind of went away for a minute, and then I just said, well, maybe it was just here or there for me because I think I was starting to work again, so I didn't know what was really going on, and I worked third shift, so then it just came back, and then I said, okay, I never had knew that those were the same people. It just all of a sudden there's a logo there, and you know, um, I didn't know those were the same people. And I said, I've been following him. I've been following him since he came out, or since I knew of him, you know. And so instantly I picked up on liking him, you know, his talking points and everything. And so I just kept him in my ear, and it's hard, you know, when you're trying to tell people things, and you know you have the spirit of the Most High in you, because I wasn't all the way saved, and you have the spirit of the Most High in you, and you're trying to tell people, especially my ex, how to how you can be in Christ, and people don't even understand you. They're just like, oh yeah, okay. And so that's where you have that outlet of someone who knows, and I'm saying, wow, you know, there's actually somebody else out there that kind of thinks like me. And then you see the audience, and then it's like, okay, there's other people that hear these talking points and gravitate to this brother. So that was where I was at with him. That's how I first started hearing New Breed Global, and then it just became, as a housewife, it just became a part of my everyday, because I don't hear people talk like this. You know what I mean? I had took a chance. You know, I usually live in the suburbs, and I took a chance in living in the hood. You know, you know, and so I thought it would be a personable thing. You know, that my people would be my people, and turns out that it wasn't my people. That I ended up being targeted because of the lifestyle that I keep, and I was really trying to change everything over to Christ. It was a slow process, and that's where he came in. And some of the things that he was saying, you know, I have to admit, I kind of had a Job moment where Job was sitting here getting mad at the kids for having a birthday party, and things like that. And I had a Job moment, and I felt like, man. And so this brother was a part of my everyday. There were other people that I listened to, but I you know, if I'm working out, you know, need a motivation, this was him. This was New Breed Global. I was listening to him, because I'm just telling the truth. You know what I mean? Even though I have some discrepancies with the brother, I got to put the real out there of how I felt and how I gravitated to him, and what he was saying that made me a believer. More and more with Christ, but with what he was saying, with what was um, going on. And when I first heard um, the unfortunate of him saying, he actually came out and said that he was being gang stalked. It was like, you know what? Why would somebody do that to him? At that time, I was not being gang stalked. At least I don't believe. And you know, um, once I start hearing somebody would do that to somebody like him, it's a frustration, because life is hard enough as it is. Um, for some of us black people, you know what I mean? Especially if you've got a criminal record, it's hard. And so that builds a frustration in me, because I love my people, but I don't like that part. It's been a minute since I've been in the hood, and so when I came back, it wasn't there to embrace me. They didn't like me. They didn't want me to. They didn't understand my whole understanding of being there. Like, you sure you want to be here because you kind of proper, and but a lot of people don't know I did came from the hood. I grew up in the projects. I mean, a part of my life I was born in. And so like I said, I thank God that my dad at the time just married my mother and got us out, because I probably would have been bad. I probably would have been the chick that had kids out of wedlock and so forth. I was already like telling some of my friends to skip school at first grade. So I was doing some things, and I didn't understand it. And my dad just said, come on, I'll just marry you. And he married my mom, and then we lived in a home, um, which was pretty much turned into a Mexican community. But to make a long story short, it's just I'm universal all around to people and cultures. And so I lived in all kinds of neighborhoods. And so when I'm back to when it's hard for people, for me, I have to gravitate to other people. And so when I listen to Newry Global, he sounds like that kind of person. And so when I hear him, he was a part of my life. Even my husband was like, "Oh my God, you know, do you have to listen to that every day?" And I said, "You don't like this kind of stuff? This is motivating." So I learned. I say, "Okay, well then I just wait till he leave, and then I just put it on because I'm saying this a brother positive, trying to get my at the time." And he was just like, mm-mm. But I think he would have said that to anybody. So no offense. But a part of me was saying, what, this is scripture. He's reading scripture. And it helped me more with my walk with Christ, believe it or not. More as a woman, trying to understand, certain things that 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 I go through, that this brother was going through too. And I learned this more with my walk. Yeah, people start not liking me, um, like some of the stuff that he was saying was going on at some of my jobs, and I didn't like that. I just it kind of happened, and then it kind of went away, and then it came back again when I got another job, and got myself together. Then the targeting definitely started, and I was at a breaking point with my ex-husband, and I couldn't understand it. And um, when I first understood that it was a targeting, I I just said nothing because I'm like, I know this ain't happening. Oh, this ain't happening. Then I said, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that brother Newbury Global. That's what he was saying. So then, when I realized this, I said, I know ain't nobody trying to target me. Like, come on now, for real, for real. And it was for real. Just about every time I get ready to go to the grocery store, here's these people, mostly you could tell military, retired military, husband and wife, it looked like, with these different license plates, just tailgating me and looking at me strange, and saying, okay, what's going on? And so so I would turn to Newbury Globe. I think he was one of the ones I turned to. There were some other ones that I turned to. I don't know that lady's name, but she was always the number one. Uh, I want to say Renanda or something like that. I turned to that one brother. I can't think of his name. G Rock. Yes, I turned to G Rock. There's several others that I have turned to. Eat the Real. Turned to her because I was trying to get the full understanding, and I just couldn't gravitate with some of the targeted people, and that's where the Most High is saying that you can't, because you can't be sitting here watching these videos every day, and it's not going to help you. And so the only one that I really could say, okay, I could do this, was the Newbury Global, because I believe that when I walk with Christ, that there's a solution. There's a solution to this, and that's the only one that I felt that had that. I didn't meet G Rock understand him till later, when I was really but Newbury Global, I kind of stuck with him because I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna let this get to me. You know what I mean? And then my whole persona of him was a helper. I was thinking of him as a pillar of the community, and that's how I saw him. And I would let my kids hear it. Sometimes my kids be giggling, because we always try to eat like around dinner time, just hear it out, because that's when I actually sit down. And sometimes he would say things and my kids would laugh, and so I felt that that was like, wow. But through the years, I kind of hear him here, and I kind of do things, and I always made sure I gravitate to the Most High. I didn't want to be, all of him or all of any other content creator, because I listen to others. I always wanted it to be the Most High, and so just to make sure I'm not, idolizing or anything. And so as the years go by, I could pretty much tell you every person that has came on his platform, um, because I wanted to know who did he like, you know, and there's some that's on there, and I always wonder, what happened to these people, you know what I mean? And so when I first start listening, when I first got the nerve, because I never would type anything, okay. When I first got the nerve, because I was shy, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, and when I first started typing um, on his chat, he kind of like rebuked me, because I think I was saying something more about, and it was just a question. It was more a question of Adam and Eve when he was talking about polygamy, and he said that he wanted two wives or what have you. And I'm saying, well, why didn't he get two ribs? That was like a question, and I do that. That's me, okay. And so I think like later he said something in his channel, and I'm saying, okay, he must read his comments, because some people, that was a shock to me, because I'm saying, like, you got like hundreds of people listening to you. Don't read mine, Hmm. And I said, nah, maybe somebody else said something about that. So I just let that go, you know. And then there was another time there, um, I kind of get in and get out with him. There was another time he had said something, and he was having a bad day. And that's really how I stayed, being more commental on the channel. And it was another brother uh, that was saying things like, why does he, always have new clothing? And why does he always, you know, where is he getting his money to dress all this stuff? And he was kind of checking New Breed about that. And, that was the same day that somebody did that to me. Okay, they were doing that to me, and I said, what? And that's where I got mad, and I got on there, and I just was like, who do he think he is? Why is he pocket watching? Why is he pocket watching? What this brother is making? This brother is a success because of what he is saying. Who do he think he is? So I was upset. And then New Breed that said, yeah, he pocket watching. You know how you read the comments? Say, yeah, he pocket watching. And I was like, he did hear me. Oh my goodness. And because I just like, oh wow, there's hundreds of thousands of subscribers he had, you know. So um boy, I tell you, nothing could spoil my day. Nothing, okay? Because I was just like, what? What? And so so I was just like just speaking out, and sometimes I do that, you know what I'm saying? I'm a true diehard Christian. I'm not perfect, but I don't like the when somebody come up, we supposed to uplift each other. That's where I was just saying, you know what, I do the same thing, Breed. I hear you on that, brother. And that's what I was doing. I was just, just saying, yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah. And so he had this moment, and then, that's what it was. And then, I said, you know what, I don't want to be, don't be getting all excited just because he says something. You know what I mean? Don't you be getting all excited. Don't be sitting up here, hogging up the chat now. Just hold up. That's how I was feeling, you know. And so after that, I kind of just like, yeah. And then, I think this is when he started cutting his locks. And I'm like, no, You know, because I mean, me personally, I do love a brother with locks in his hair. So, so he was cutting his locks in, but I was like, I want to, this is a man in transition, so hey, let's see how he rides this out. Then he said that he was having a baby. I think that was the next move, and I'm like, all right, now he tell me having a baby. But the part about it is that all these things was way back when, you know, and like I said, to me, he meant something to me more than probably other people would say. He's just a regular subscriber. I mean, he's just a regular content creator, and he meant more to me because of what I went through, of the targeting. And the whole point of targeting is not knowing anything about it. That's how your enemy, because that's an enemy, gets over on you, is you don't know anything about targeting. You know what I mean? And so he would say and advocate it on his channel all the time, and so it became very personable to me, that what he was teaching and saying about gang stalking or proxy by stalking, that was something I needed to know. That was something that I needed to know. And when it was happening to me, I didn't freak out. I didn't freak out. I knew that and I feel like the Holy Spirit was really guiding me, because usually, I could be, cussing people out, and I did not. I just was like, okay, don't freak out. That's all I knew about it. And then it dawned on me that this brother, Newbury, was talking about it. And then I started remembering, yeah, that's right. This is this. This is the gang stalking, okay. And it was really, nerve-wracking, especially when you're trying to work. You know what I mean? You're trying to work, and then it started trickling down to my children's education. I have a son that's autistic, and so it's them trying to kind of mistreating him, or doing this. I don't know if they were mistreating him, but they were mistreating me when I come to pick him up. So I start making him be homeschooled because of that, because I didn't have time for work and then to deal with that. And they were at my daughter's school, and I'm saying, what is going on? And I wouldn't say nothing, because I was literally gathering information on who is doing this to me. You know what I mean? You can't, because I remember brother Newbie Global was saying, you can't just go saying something to the police, because they have a protocol. The protocol is what I found out, is that you can't say that you're a targeted individual. If you say that you're a targeted individual, they have a protocol that they will pan out on you, which is the following you around and the gaslighting and all those mechanisms that they do. So that's why I was saying, do not call yourself a targeted individual, because when they hear that, that means that they're going to act on a protocol. The city, state government, local officials are going to act out to the point where it drives you, either mentally, challenged, or to do a shooting, or, stage some form of event. But I never do that. I just was like, I don't like that name. When I hear them say it, and that's kind of what made me pull out of the TI community, is that I didn't like that. I didn't like calling myself, because I felt like that's narcissism. I'm not letting them call me some pet name. And so that's why I kind of just stopped talking, to all Renanda and all them. And I mean, I don't like bullies, and I'm saying I'm not just letting them do me any kind of way. You know what I mean? And I just was like, no, that's not happening. And so when I realized that, he still was calling himself that, but I knew not to. I knew not to call myself anything they call me. So I got bullied and made fun of, and the whole time I'm trying to figure out, what do I do here? I didn't know what to do. And so I would kind of look at videos that Newbury Global would have, And I'm like, he kind of like me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I love a lot of the people, but I'm just saying we can't let people rule and dictate our lives. I don't care who you are. Um, and that's how I've been kind of fighting it and surviving, is literally talking to people. And when some things are wrong, some things I have to overlook because they try to get you there. And you got kids. When you got kids, and you can't be showing out. You got to always keep your poise with things. And so they knew, okay, well, her kids is there, so I'm gonna act out on her. And that's when I'm you know I just have to laugh it off or something. And kids go in the car, and then the person be gone already, like, you must knew what I was about to do. Ooh, because I can't just sit there. But anyway, back to the story, because the love that I have for this brother is because there's a thing that when the pandemic started, I started getting back into the Word of God real deep. I mean, I was doing things that I should not have been doing because I was breaking out of my marriage, and my husband was doing things, and I was doing things, and it caused me to get a divorce. I mean, we were on the verge of divorce, and we never really got it. And so because of that, what I was doing is getting in with the Most High, you know. And when I did, I stopped everything. Yeah, I was out there. I had an affair. No, not with Newbury Global. Never that, okay. I had an affair with someone just because I was seeing my husband having an affair. And so when I saw that, the Lord was, you know, the Lord was like, really? Really? Because I thought you was trying to be with me. That's how he kind of get at me like that. And I was like, I'm not right. You know what I mean? And so I started fasting to get rid of that, because I knew that was wrong. And so, I actually thought I could do that again, just get back in the world. And the Most High said, you know what? Because I actually was on a fast, and I stopped, because I'm saying, what I need to do this for? You know what I mean? And the Most High spoke to me very clear and said, hey, you don't do that, you're going to die. If you don't get on that fast, this means something. You will die. And I hurried up and grabbed my water and said, phew, child. I ain't never heard God talk to me like that. So I got back on my fast. And so when I got back on my fast through the pandemic, he was instructing me to do mostly like 21 days and 40 days and 40 nights. I'm just trying to tell you how I got strengthened in the Lord. I did 3 40-day nights. One with just fruits and vegetables or whatever, and then the other ones were just nothing but water and cold pressed juice. And I was like, I try to avoid that because I love food. I love to cook it and everything like that. I don't want to do the fast thing. And everywhere I went to avoid it, I kept seeing 40 everywhere I go. Like, my groceries came up to $40, and oh my God. I mean, now this was before the targeting really happened, y'all. Okay, because you know how they do. So I went ahead and I did the 40-day fast, and it was something unique and different. My warfare was kind of little to nothing, and so it was just a lot of things that God had changed in my life, and was showing me and teaching me how to do things. I'm just gonna go into what's going on. I know I'm talking about Newbury, but hear me out. But the Lord was teaching me and showing me my spiritual gifts, and I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know anything about that because the church really didn't teach me. So, so the Most High was teaching me. And I remember one day I just got through watching one of Newbury Global's segments, and then the Most High had spoke to me, and he was telling me, mostly that one thing about him, he said he's going to be going far in life. Like, he was going to be doing something. He wasn't all clear to me, but he's going to be doing something real big. And so I was like, okay, 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 you know, because I don't know if that's the Lord or is that me thinking that, I wasn't really known to God's gift in me, so I couldn't say. I would never go out there and say it on my page, oh, you're going to be doing something. I would never do that, okay, because I don't know if the God has another word for me on him, and I had to get the confirmation, so I'm not saying anything. And he also had told me that I would meet him because, through me watching him, like, why do I, I just, I couldn't understand. Sometimes I would have this feeling for him, not liking him. I mean, like a feeling, like something, like God is trying to tap me on my shoulder. Like what is it with him? I know he says some of the stuff that I say. You know what I mean? I know that, but I couldn't understand that God was trying to literally tell me something because I never had anybody tell me about this, or when people do, it was fake. So God literally had me do these fasts to understand my spiritual gifts for himself. He was teaching me. Nobody else could say anything, or sometimes certain videos would prop up and I'm saying, what? That's what that means? Or he would give me a dream at night, but he told me that I would meet Newbury Global. And that had to been I mean, from now, that was like 5 years ago, but for that was like 2 years that had happened. And I said, yeah, right. I know I ain't meeting him. I know that's just me. That's me. I wouldn't give God the credit on stuff because I still didn't have my spiritual gift to know when God was really talking to me. You know what I mean? So until I understood, I didn't say anything. Okay? And so I kept that one to myself. Like, okay, I was starting to think, well, maybe I need to pause myself on his videos because I'm starting to believe that God just told me that I'm going to meet him. Like, woo. So, I mean, because that's how I felt about him at that time. I felt that he, was like a pillar. He just this, and that's just how I saw him. I mean, still have parts of those things. I do believe that. So I'm not counting him out on any of that all the way. It's just certain things that had happened that I didn't like. And so, that had went by, and then one day he said he had went to Liberia, and I was like, what? He went to Liberia, and keep in mind, I don't forgot all what God said about it. And so, like certain times, the Most High would give me, like, when he's trying to tell me something or something that's come to pass, he started giving me, I call it the spiritual nudge, like, I told you. And I'm like, you did told me that. I'm so happy for him, and that's me. I don't, a lot of times, because of purity in me, I genuinely want people to win, okay? But a lot of times people think I'm being fake or whatnot because you don't see it all the time. But for me, anybody that's gone through something like that, I want them to win, okay? So, you know what I mean? So, one day I was in, comment section because I don't always comment to him, okay? I just sit back sometimes and listen. And one day I actually looked at me and I said, it do look like I'm being fake or something. Shoot, let me pipe down some, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying it's just me wanting someone else to win, especially that been through that. That's a lot to go through targeting, if those who don't know. So when people be saying things about him, sometimes I don't like it because I'm saying you must not know about targeting, okay? And that's where I can't just kind of write him off because anybody who's been through that must not know. They must not know that you're working some double, sometimes triple time on simple things. On simple things that's every day to you. If you're trying to get a membership in a gym and you're trying your hardest to scrape up the money so you can have a shower, so you can, you know what I mean? To anybody else, you say, oh, I'll just ask my mother or something. But if you don't have that, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to, you know what I mean? Like things that's easy to the normal average person is harder for people like us. And so that's where I leave that. But had God told me that I was going to meet him, and I just put that to the side. Put that to the side, and so years later, of course, I had all these things going on in my life. The targeting was full throttle. So so he said there was just things that I noticed like that wasn't right. Because I'm saying this ain't right. This is just too much. When I start seeing things on the live, like I don't know, somebody, I couldn't understand. I don't know how to describe it to you, but it's like this. Somebody must be telling him this type of thing. There were things going on on my on his live that was coming to me as if like somebody either telling him things or something ain't right. I can't explain it right now, but there were just things that I said, I don't know about that, and I'll say that to everything. Okay, when you have a prophetic gift, one thing I learned is you can't, whatever you're hearing, you got to make sure you get confirmation, because when you go telling the people, that's what make people lose hope and faith in prophecies, because people are not testing them. Some people don't test them. Give it time, or make sure this is all, because sometimes God will give me some things like now, and then like 2 months later, he's telling me the rest of what he wanted me to know with this same situation. So you got to really test and make sure you get confirmation from the Most High. That's one thing I learned about that, because people, you a fake prophet and all this stuff. So that's things I never told people, that I had that gift, because it was helping me win, especially with my family members. You know what I mean? When they be doing stuff, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, yep, they just gonna be right back over here. And here it is. Yep, right back over here. And I try to make sure I don't speak curses and spells over people, as that's what the Most High was telling me as well. Don't just be saying stuff, because your words are power. So back to the story of the New Breed Global, of things that I thought, um, you know, um, there was just speeded up to the Jamboree, because that it was said, and he announced it on his channel, that he was going to do the Jamboree. And I'm like, okay, he's going to do something, because he had something else that he had a year or two back. And, they looked like they was having fun, And so I'm saying, I don't know. Is the Most High wanting me to do that? And more and more, um, God was kind of saying, yeah, I want you to do that. Now, keep in mind, I forgot all about the prophecy. You know, a lot of times when God tells me things, and it's safe for me to say it, I forget. I can't even remember. Like until it comes, or I'm there. And so when I actually put in to go, I wanted me and my kids, especially, I wanted a male figure to talk to my son. So it didn't necessarily have to be New Breed Global. Of course, I wanted it to be, but just to influence him with being autistic and things. So that was something that I was thinking, but I said, I don't know. I don't want to just be doing something just because it's New Breed Global. And so, finally, towards the end, the Most High was agreed. I got the confirmation, so that's what I did. I drove all the way out there. And, there was other times I've been around the area, but this time it was really about, him and his thing. And so when I first got there, there was security, and, that's wasn't a part of my targeting. So, I don't know. But even if it was, I don't give a damn. So, but anyway, there was, I think the first person I seen was Brainwaves. And he just had this big old smile on his face. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And He was like, yeah, telling me where I can park, and having a conversation about what was taking place at the time. And so he was telling me about that there was that something had happened on that day. And I said, oh, really? I didn't know that. But I figured it out because I said, you know what? When I was trying to get here, all of a sudden the GPS went away. I didn't know where I was going. And so I was believing what he was saying on that. And so when I got there, he told me to pull over there. Told me, showed me where to park, and he continued to go do security. And so when I was there, all of a sudden, you know, um, it was Newbury Governor and two other brothers that came out, and I was like, "Hey, Newbury Governor," and he was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so he's probably busy trying to get stuff done. So because I was just going to introduce myself and the kids, and he just was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Okay." So he's busy. So anyway, I just went on, and I think I went and talked to Brainwave some more. Just conversating, about the whole thing of the some of the flights were canceled and stuff. So it was not a whole lot of people there. So I was just asking, like, is there anything I can do to help? And he said, I don't know yet. He said, I just decided to help with the security. So that's what he was telling me. And, I started meeting other members, other people who showed up. And, when I was talking to them, they just were just basically speaking to me about certain things. And that the young brother was telling me that he had already talked to Newbury Global, and he took a picture with him. I was like, really? Because I said, he just act like he didn't see me or something. I don't know. I said, maybe he's just busy, trying to get stuff together. And so he's like, yeah, I already talked to him. And he said he had a conversation, and he said he's pretty much down to earth. And I said, oh, okay. So that was my first day there. And, you know, I understood that he was taking care of business. So I was always talking to other people. I pretty much just about talked to everybody up there but him. So then I said, hey, every time, he come, get something to drink or whatever, you know, he was very quick. He was not speaking to me. And I'm saying, okay, I get it now. Either he don't like me or something's wrong. Something's wrong. So, then I was introduced to his I think it's his wife, Terry. She's sweet as pie. She was very sweet, talking to me and answering for me. So I said maybe he's not comfortable talking to a woman. So I said maybe he's directing her to talk to me. I was just trying to figure it out. Like, I know he's not like acting mean or something, is he? I don't want to make this personal. Come on now, this supposed to be a good time. That's how I was trying to make it. And so I was just there, and I was like, asking for help, and a lot of the people that had it going, they were like, no, you're a guest, it's okay. Some things I just did, like, I'm finna do this, forget y'all, because I'm a helper, so, you know what I mean? And so, I got to meet people there, and everybody else was on good terms. That's where I say that it was like a good, that's why I made two videos, because I didn't want to put a damper on the first one, I wanted to be, because the people there were really good and likable and well-behaved people. So I didn't want to, ever say nothing bad, that. And then I was just talking about his behavior when he was there, because I didn't know, can I approach him? I didn't know. Some people don't like to be approached or whatever, and they just don't say it. So I just let that be. I didn't make that to be the highlight. I just kept it moving and still engaged with other people. My son was autistic, and it was like really hot outside. So I had to keep on making sure he was all right, because he, um, when it's a lot of people at that time, he can't really deal with autism. You can't deal with a whole lot of people. So he was kind of acting out. So I was spending a lot of my time trying to, calm him down, and to make sure he was all right. So I had to keep going back and forth to the car, and you know what I mean? And, I try to get my kids to engage, come on out the car, and they were like, we don't have our, anything for our head. So I just let them stay there, and then I just would be coming because I knew I couldn't just sit there. So when I went to talk to him, it was just more of a avoidance. And I'm like, okay, because he avoided me. And so, I said, I don't want to be, I'm thinking I'm a Jezebel, so we'll just let it ride. You know what I mean? I'm so worried about, let me be biblical than actually saying something or calling him out on something, because I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? On his own event, no. So every time I try to reach out to him, he's like hurrying away. And I seen that he had his little pistol on him, and I'm saying, okay, because he was, like, what is he? What are you trying to say, bruh? I didn't say that, but I'm thinking, you know, you think something going on here? You know what I mean? So I seen things that somebody that was there, which I've been trying to explain, because I've been trying to write an email, Newbury Global, about certain things that I noticed that wasn't right. And he never wrote me at all, never write back or anything. Sometimes he would say on his channel, I check the email, or like, I check my inbox. So I'm like, is he talking to me or 5 other girls? Who is he talking to? You know what I mean? Like, who, because it just so happens I did email him that day. And is he trying to say me? Because I don't understand. So back to the gibbery, everything. I don't want to go too long with it, but he was about to perform. I'm like, hey, because I love Newbury Global's music. I do. And one thing about me, when I got on YouTube, I'm not trying to hear any content creators' music. I want to hear nothing but a real, a real rapper. Someone that's platinum. That was me. And so my liking him was really genuine. You know what I mean? It's really genuine. It was really genuine. So they're about to perform. Him and King Connect. Shouts out to King Connect. They're about to perform. And so that's my jam right there. So when he so I come running up there like, hey, you know what I mean? I don't know what he thought. I was like, well, maybe he think I'm finna twerk or something. I don't understand. What is wrong with him? So he started playing the music, and then he saw me, and then he was just, it started playing like, hey, I was about to, throw my hands in there. I know to be, come on now. I know not to do none of that stuff. Come on. Maybe because I talk a little hood, maybe, I don't know. I was trying to figure it out, but I was just like, yeah, okay, forget about it. Play the song, y'all perform. And then all of a sudden, it cut off. Like, why it cut off? Why that cut off? Y'all better fix that. You know what I mean? Because that's my jam. I truly love that song, King Connect. Boy, I love that song. And then it just stopped. And then, I just went back and said, well, then I'm going to go check on my kids. You know what I mean? They was coming out, in and out, but, they had their, kids are all about the internet. So, not having any kind of internet is, So I just was like, you know what I mean? Is he doing this on purpose or something? That's where I was going with this. And so, then, Newbury had gotten his vehicle and took off. And so, everybody was just sitting there and talking. And then I said, King Connect, let me get a picture with you. I said, I love that song. I treat him like a real celebrity because that's how I feel. Okay, so he was like, yeah. So I got my phone, and he took a picture. I was like, yeah, brother. Thank you so much, because that's genuine for me. That's big for me, because I only listen to nothing if it ain't on mainstream. So that's how much I say. That if I like it, that's a hit. Because I'm watching King Connect, y'all. Y'all better check out his channel. You better hear me. So, and I mean that genuinely, because I don't listen to. So anyway, One thing I liked about New Breed Global, his music has scripture. That's what gravitated to me. You know what I mean? Like, boy, how y'all some cold brothers. Y'all put scripture and rap. They got to make it to the top. They got to. You know what I mean? So I was really good on that, but I was still not knowing that Nibby Girl was hating on me. Like, I know this nigga is not hating on me, and I said that, nigga. So let me go talk to Terry, make sure everything good, y'all. You know what I mean? I ain't no hater, you know what I'm saying? Because my whole purpose of coming up there was, if I didn't get anything out of anything, it's just, hey, I'm in Newbury Global and I go back. But at the time, I still was struggling with homelessness. So I was just, do you have a word of advice? Do you know any people or places, just word, of places or anything? I could never speak to him because he was always gone or hiding. I don't know what he was doing. So I just assumed he's hiding. So I don't know. And then I had to remember, my family members was a part of my targeting, so they might have said something to him. So that's where I was going with that. So I kind of let that go because I'm saying I'm not going to make this about me. And so, it was a true disappointment because then, the Most High is nudging me and saying, remember, I told you were going to meet him. And I said, that's right. I said that loud. That's right. You did tell me I was going to meet Newbury Global, and I was excited. And so this was big for me because, me understanding my prophetic gift and it come to pass. And so, I laugh because God's laughing at me. He's like, you thought it was going to be like, oh, hey. And I did. He said, well, it come to pass. You can't knock it. It came to pass, no matter how it turned out. Tanya, don't you get mad. It came to pass. And I thought that I was wanting to be my friend. So I wanted him to be my friend. Like I listen to all your stuff. For real, for real. Shoot. You don't know? I don't put down. I'm a rap fanatic. If I put down a real, I don't want to say who it is because the industry thing. So I'm gonna leave that alone. I can't mention names, but if I put down my buddy rappers down, and you mean to me, you're being mean or you're avoiding me. So then I happened to notice one of my ex-co-workers' mother up here. Like, what the hell? That's when I said something wrong here. I know she's a witch. Here she is trying to cast a spell on me. I mean, the day before I had just gotten off a fast. So here this lady is really talking to me and I'm saying, what is your point? Because she was trying to put a spell on me for real, for real. And so, I'm always up for the count because I ain't scared of no witch. So I'm just like, you know what I mean? Till she finally fly away. Get on your broom and go away. I'm trying to see what's up with Newbury Global, Get the heck out of my face. What is you doing here? That's what they thought I was going to do that. But like I said, I don't know why she's here. So I just left that be. Why is she here? You know what I mean? So I just like, y'all be really trying to hate on me. That's probably why he ain't saying nothing. And so, he just looked kind of like anxiety ridden. And I just gotta let him go. I just let him go. And so, I'm like, well, maybe he's just probably disappointed that it didn't turn out the way he really wanted it to. And so, I gave it the second day. And, first of all, I was upset because, I was so busy calming my son down the first day that I really didn't get to eat. And so, when I went to eat, I was like, maybe I can go snack on some chips because I think it was some potato chips in there. And so, they was like, I said, so where's the chips and stuff, and they was like, oh, he was like, oh, Newbury Global, he locked it up. I was like, locked it up? Yeah, he put it in the back of his car and locked it up. Like, what? Yeah, okay. That's where I was like, I should have brought, because I didn't have a whole lot. I'm still waiting for my ship to come in, but I had a little something, but it wasn't like enough to what I was trying to work with. So the whole night it was like pitch black, and I'm like, I don't know if I made a mistake by coming here. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, we still got 2 more days. So the second day was a little bit better. Yitawaze, shouts out to that brother and Deja and his lovely wife. They was cooking. Yitawaze was an excellent pillar. He was talking, with the people. He's a cool brother. I ain't forgot about you, bro. Yeah. So he was cooking breakfast, and I'm like, "You sure you good?" So I was just, setting up the stuff, the eggs and stuff. Deja, she was doing her thing. Lovely lady, and congratulations on y'all baby. I saw y'all baby on TikTok. So, yeah, I have to fix that account because there was something going on there, but I still can see the stuff coming in. All right, congratulations. But anyway, I was there, and I was just like, I want to be a help. These are people who you're supposed to be building with. That's what it was. I assumed it was about. These are people who could possibly be your neighbors. Okay, so when you understand that, I'm putting my best foot forward to say, hey, I'm here to help, to assist in anything. I don't want to just be standing around. I'm a busybody myself, and so I did some things in the morning, and kind of just let that be. You know what I mean? If you don't feel comfortable, and, you know. And so, so, I was like, you know what? I asked Terry, I said, girl, you want me to help you? Girl, you pregnant. You want me to help you? Because I think she was doing, I forgot what she was doing. I think she was lighting like the tikis or something, later on that night. You just running around, girl. You're supposed to sit down. And she's like, no. Like, she's like, nope. I guess she was instructed not to get help from me. So that's where I just said, okay. And then, here I am trying to leave, and then my car wouldn't start. Like, what? Because my battery was being drained. So I had to ask I had to ask Brainwaves, like, can you start my car up? And he was just been such a helper. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I can say that Brainwaves was truly helping here, okay? For whatever was said, he did his part and more. And I think the what was going on here was just that, it's New Breed's thing, and maybe we need to ask him first. Because I know Brainwaves is like, I see something, I'm trying to help. I'm just jumping in and helping. You know what I mean? He's one of those brothers. But, we always want to make sure we don't step on nobody's toes, just double check and eggs, you know what I mean? But he was, more than enough helper. He helped me jump my car. And I was actually, like, just wanted it to get jumped. And so, so I can have it running, and, if I need to run air, whatever I needed to do. And then I just said, you know what, let's leave here. Because he was kind of looking like, you ain't leaving, is you? And I was like, no, I'm just starting it up. Because I wasn't. I was really just starting up. And then I looked at my kids and said, y'all want to leave? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, they're teenagers. So, I didn't get to say goodbye to anyone. I just took off. And I was upset because I'm saying, this is somebody that be in my household. And so everything about him shifted. And I just was like, what do I do about this? You know what I mean? Because it's an upsetting thing for me. The time, he don't owe me anything. I also was on Patreon, that, for a while. And I was trying to figure out, what do I do? Do I say anything about this? Are people gonna get mad? Are they gonna crazy? Are they gonna attack me because of my experience? And I said, well, I'll give a damn, because that's just me. You just be arguing about yourself. So when I was in North Carolina, I stayed there. After the jamboree, I stayed in North Carolina, and I made my video right outside the library. And I was just like, how, you know, this is a total disrespect. This is not him. But I'm gonna tell him about himself. I'm gonna tell him about himself. And I was just like, because I wanted to know, do anybody else? Is this just how he is? You know, because I could have sworn I just was not happy with what was going on. And so, that's when Brainwaves let me get on there, and I found out that they had something going. They had an altercation. And I'm like, what? And so that's when I said something is wrong then, because Brainwaves was doing a lot. Little did you know, I'm not saying Newberry was like slacking or anything, because I wasn't watching what he was doing. He was kind of, that's what you're doing. When something is needed, you go out. You would have to go out to go get something. So that's just a normal thing. So, but Brainwaves was holding it down of what he could do. So that's where I give him a shout out. Okay, brother. So I made my video, and I was just upset. You know what I mean? And so, the Most High instructed me, well, you can't, because I said, I'm going to take all this, take this stuff off my dang on phone. And God said, no, you don't. You're going to keep subscribing to him. I said, no, I'm not. He said, you better obey. Stay on that channel. Stay on there. Because you already know he's going to say you're being emotional. So stay on there. Yeah, I said, all right. Well, I'm only watching a few minutes. Because I was mad. I was mad because that's not how I wanted to see him. And so I just gotta let that be. And more as the time go on, that I'm sitting on his channel, because he always saying, black women don't support me. So I stay on there, yeah, every go, No, but my stuff be sincere, I'm sincere. When I want him, I still want him to win, okay? You have to remember, this brother has been targeted, okay? This is not something, that's where I don't like all the constant talk about the brother. Because this is a whole nother realm. If you don't know about targeting, you better know that it's times that you want to, you want to beat somebody up, but you can't. And you just got to hold it. You have to work at things that should come easy to you. But when you targeted some things, you just like, what? Because you got someone that's using the government, city, state, local officials trying to provoke you. So they trying to get you to where you act out like that girl at McDonald's. That's where I had to speak up on that. You know what I mean? Then it's hard to detect. It's everyday stuff. And so that's where I couldn't cancel, and I can't cancel them out because of that. I can't cancel them out, but I knew it was going to be a time that I have to unsubscribe because, I just was waiting for a time that he's going to say something, to me, making my video, constantly trying to email him. I got his phone number, and still nothing. And let me tell you about the time that I was being targeted, and after I went to the Jamboree and I went to for my kids' visitation with my ex, I had to travel all the way up to Ohio. And so then after that, I came back to Georgia because that's where I was staying. And I still was dealing with homelessness, but I knew I couldn't be up there because of, that's where my gang stalking started. So when I came back, my car needed my brakes done, and that's where they waited till my brakes needed to be done. And I was finding avenues to get it fixed, but that's when they send my car go 70 miles an hour. They send my car going straight down Alexander Street. And, that's how they cover their backs. They're saying, well, you needed to get your brakes filled. Your brakes are bad. That's not what happened. And so when you're dealing with that, you know what I mean? my car had crashed, and then I got taken to the hospital, and I had an injustice with things that they have done, and I can't talk about everything that was done, but they did take my hairpiece out of my head. They took the because I had a hairpiece when I had my hair twisted up like that. I still had a hairpiece on my head. It was twisted into my head, and they not supposed to take it out, but they took it out. They it take time. It take time to take that out because I had so many locked in, and that lady literally snatched pieces of my hair out, trying to get that out of my head, and that's not something she was supposed to do. So I'll mention that. So when I was in the hospital, I don't know, something about me said, I didn't have anybody really I could call. And so when I did call, I called Newbury Global because I had his number from the WhatsApp. When I called him, um, he said that I'm in the hospital, and that was it. And he hung up the phone on me. And I said, "What?" Okay, I didn't bother calling back because he said he was busy, and then I realized he was giving birth. His wife was giving birth to their child. So here I am, almost lost my life, and was looking for someone to say something, and just like I'm at the hospital, and I'm like, okay. So keep in mind, only uh, I was excited. I when I had this number, I called and called, but I wasn't gonna be a bugaboo. It's just, can I get through to the brother? So that was the first time. The second time, um, the and was the last time that I stopped calling to figure out what's going on here with the situation of me trying to get my money back because I wasn't happy that I was there. And then he said he was gonna meet with everybody, and I forgot to mention that when I had that microphone, he passed everybody the microphone and said me. He went around me and gave it to everybody else. And so that's where I was like, why you didn't let me talk? So I was wanting my money back. Like, hey, I didn't come here for that. You know what I mean? Because I started thinking about all the stuff he was doing that was, like he just literally ignored me on the thing. You ain't supposed to do that. He could have politely just handed me my money. I would have just turned around and left. If it was something that my presence being there was a problem, because I was wondering, because God was saying, I don't think he really like you and you in the comments. Because I said, well, maybe because when I say something in the comments, he might think I'm critiquing him, but it's just the ingredients. I didn't want to be repeating because I'm not a person that repeat everything you say. That means I'm using another word that's saying the same thing you saying, because it was an agreement, but I don't copy everything you're saying. You understand? That's who I am. But that's where I was trying to have that conversation with him. Do you like me? You didn't like me in the comments. Said, do you want me on your damn channel? Huh? That's where I was trying to go get all that out so I can go forward. Because if he would have said, no, I don't like it, then I would have been, all right, cool. And that'll be it. Because that's me. That's me. I don't hold on to people. Because you know what? With this targeting, I sure wish somebody would hear me out and say, you know what? I'm leaving you alone. Oh my God. So I respect when people say, hey, you do too much or whatever. And I leave it at that. And I'm saying he must have a lot of people that cling on to him or something, because he just acting so funny. But there was another time that I had called him, and it was just more of, I'm done with you type of thing. Because I don't know if he leaves subliminal messages sometimes on the channel. I can't tell. So to cover my ass, I just say, okay, he probably saying that to 10 other females that's in the live chat. I don't know, because I'm saying, who wouldn't like Newbury Global? I'm sure somebody else would like them, but I'm not saying in that manner, because I'm an older woman, and I'm saying, nah. He's still trying to sow his wild oats, so I know he ain't right for me. He's still trying to, that daddy at 30 something, 38, 40s, they still trying to sow they ride oats. Usually they do, but I don't know him 100, okay? But I did make this call. Let me get that out here. I made this phone call, and I think this is when my phone had fizzled out. And because I was wanting some answers, like, you know what, when you was saying stuff on your channel, was you trying to tell me something? That's where I was trying to go with it. And so that's why I called him. And he laughed. When he answered the phone, he laughed and he said, I don't know you. And he hung up. And he said, well, first he said, can you not call me anymore? Don't call me anymore. And he hung up the phone on me. And I'm like, I said, that's the longest he said something, but I wasn't offended. I mean, I was just like, that's him. Because I've already kind of, said, okay, because. So when he said that, I was just like, you know what I mean? Like, wow. But then I was just like, that was New York. He talked to me. I was on the phone. I sure forgot about it. Like, damn. I guess that was supposed to be something bad, but I'm still sitting up here cheering like, I talked to New Brick Global. Because that's who I am. I don't get upset about stuff like that. Because if somebody tell me not to call, I ain't calling them because I don't have low self-esteem. I know my worth, and like I said, there's people that I've been trying to tell that forever. So I respect his word on that. So I never got offended on that. That's just how I live. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making no excuses. That's just how I live it. There's too many men out here in the world to be stressing because there was no sexual activity between me and him. There was never any other phone calls or anything like that. It was just, I'm still trying to understand, is that really how you is? Me trying to understand him. And all he had to do was write a simple email. If you don't want to talk to me and just tell me this is how he is, he could have just been like, B, I don't like you. I still would have been like, okay, that's good. Because I needed to hear him say that way. I could say, okay, I get up your dang on channel and I'm done. And that's it. Because that's me. And so, several times, I'm on here and, he's saying things. And I'm like, is he talking about me? I know it. And so that's where I say, you know what? I'm not watching. I'm done with this nigga. I said it. F New Breed Global. I'm done because I'm not here to figure nobody out. I got stuff going on in my life. I ain't got time for this. I actually liked the channel. It's informative on things and everything. And I'm like, I gotta cancel this nigga. And that's what I said, nigga. So I'll say ninja to those who don't like it, ninja. And so I just let that be. And then yeah, I live in Atlanta, and people thought, oh, you coming here for him? No, I'm not, because I actually was another ministry that I came here for, because I wanted to be in a church. I didn't want to do, serving God by myself. And this person is all over the world now. They don't even be here, and it makes me mad because my kids are all like, what are we doing? And I didn't do it for him all the way, but that would be good to say, hey, how you doing? But I understand that sometimes when people are targeted, they are clingy, and I'm not one of those. All you got to do is tell me, not to be. But I had my family chase me down here, stalk me down here, and people, you know what I'm saying? I have to deal with that. You know what I mean? So when I have to deal with that, I'm not really trying to bring anybody into my life. I'm also trying to protect things, but I realize they have already gotten into the YouTube streets, and that's how I became homeless. That my ex sister-in-law was lying and saying that I was a targeted individual, and because my house was through the government, through HUD, I was doing monthly payments to own it, and I was getting close to own it, and she must have been talking to them and trying to misuse the system to say that they were going to get my home. I don't know the whole gist of it, but it's to that. When they're saying you're a targeted individual, that's how they get paid. Meaning that I'm scared that this person's going to act out. So when and they're denying it's Freemason, but it's pretty much Freemason. It is Freemason because my older sister, passed away when my younger sister's birthday. So that's all the way occulted. So here they are, was trying to get rid of me because I'm not joining in on that, meaning that it's, gang stalking is consisting of the human trafficking, sex trafficking, or drug trafficking. They either want you in all of them or one of them. And when you don't comply, of course, they send your flying monkeys, the people to follow you and watch whatever, you know what I mean? So that's what that's about. And no, I ain't joining that, I ain't joining none of that because I serve Christ. You can't serve two masters. And so that's where I stopped loving this man. Well, he always going to have a place in my heart. I don't care what none of y'all say. He always going to have that place in my heart because he was targeted. But everything else I could do without. I don't need to call him. I don't need to see him, And that's just how I feel about that he doesn't have to be a part of my life. He never did. If he said, you know what, you do too much and, I can't be around you, or, I have, if he did that. So I wrote him a letter, an email to show him, what, because there was a time that I did have a crush on him. I did like him because I never met anybody who really understood, and he did. He did. And so there was a time that I did have a crush on him, and I wrote him a letter. And I told him, I wrote him several. I probably wrote about 3 or 4. But the last letter that I told him is basically, this is all I wanted to do. This is all I wanted to do when you were out. I just wanted to help you succeed in what you believe that you should have, which is the Deuteronomy 28. I'm telling the truth. I don't have nothing to hide. I ain't embarrassed about nothing because I wanted him to know that I wasn't there to hurt you or anything. That if we gotta be targeted, you know what? I'm gonna have your back, brother. Whether I be a friend, even if I did polygyny, because at first I was like, what the hell is that? But I got the understanding biblically of how it works. That you know what? I'll do polygyny for this brother because I want him to win. I want that when the world mistreats you, that you have a place to come home, that you come home and it's peace. And that at night, that I wanted to hold you for every time that you tried to do something in life and somebody tried to hold you back or mistreat you. I wanted my arms to wrap around you to know that you are loved. Because when you in this, you don't feel love. And I wanted to do that for him, And I know you're saying that's sexual. It was just not even sexual. It's just that somebody got to help this brother. This brother went to Liberia. That's big to me. This brother went to Liberia and he was talking and he was targeted. Can I hold him? Can I hold him? I ain't gotta. That's what I was wanting to do. Is just hold him for a few seconds. It's not sexual. I just don't understand why the rest of y'all ain't uplifting this brother. That's big to me. I'm come from the hood. We don't ever get to do nothing. I'm sitting up here almost trying to lose my mind. They try to make me lose my mind. Someone who my ex-sister-in-law misused on these huge streets of trying to use suicidal thoughts of saying that Newbury had said it, and he didn't say it. I knew he didn't say it because I knew she didn't know anything of what she was talking about. That she was trying to get me to commit suicide or SS. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said the word. By using, she thought that we actually had a relationship because they were spying on my cell phone. And that's how I'm saying, that's how much he is like me at that time. He's similar to me. And so people were who don't know him was looking in on my phone and thinking, yep, they together. And to the point, I got neighbors up there thinking that he's in my basement. Like, what? No. And I wasn't gonna tell him because that was helping me. Like, oh yeah, I ain't saying nothing. I'm never gonna talk to those people. You know what I mean? But it just helped me that I was alone. That, oh yeah, well they if they think somebody's here, then they ain't gonna come over here bothering me because they a bunch of cowards anyway. So that was helping me. Okay, well, whatever. If you think that, then you think that. But it was just more of a personable thing that to be targeting, because I know everybody's different. And I forgot to mention that before I had left, because I don't want to leave nobody out, that G-Rock, I had found him in the midst of the channel, and he was giving me some instructions and telling me more who to stay away from, as far as like when I not at all Newbury Gold, but he wasn't talking about him, but he was talking about people in a community or honey traps and things like that. He was instructing me, what it was, a honey trap, because he said he used to live in Ohio as well. That's where we started talking on the phone, and he was just really just helping me, as well. So I don't want to leave him out, because he did take the time to answer my call and my email and ask me some things. So shouts out to that brother. I just found him on YouTube, but that's what he was doing. So I don't want to leave him out. But yeah, I did. That's what I was saying with him, because it seems like he's just such a man that he needed that support. He needed a sister to just say, back up off of him. He trying to do something righteous, and I know you saying, I'm a man, I don't need you doing that. So yeah, that's where I was like, you know what, I can't be a Jezebel here. Or I can't be too authoritative. I gotta let him be that man. And so, but the holding, that's just what I felt that he needed it, and I just wanted to just give him that for a few. And I know some people say, well, you would have been sexual. I don't know. I'm a purity woman. I'm a celibate woman, by the way. So it's been many, many years, and I've been celibate, and I'm not hard up on some man. You know what I mean? Everything I'm saying is about purity. It's about purity. I genuinely have a love for my people. And when they doing something big, I don't want anybody or anything stopping him. I want him to succeed and go forth in life. I still do. But I have a distrust in him, because how he played me at his jamboree, and all I wanted was the best for him. And I still do. Even if he didn't never choose me as a wife, I wasn't caring. I was just more of his happiness, because he was something that I relate to, that everybody else was clowning me and making fun of me, but he was him. He was a relatable person to me, almost to the T that even they were thinking that they had an affair. The ones that my family members trying to target me. That's why I said your family members get you in that. Either a family member or a loved one, or, they are the main ones, because they have to build a profile on you to know who you are. So only your family truly know, and my family still don't know who I was, because I told you during the pandemic I have set my life all the way over to Christ, all the way over, and so I've changed my life. To all rap music, I stopped, and things like that. And then, like I said before, before I moved out, the Most High was, before I got targeted, I kept hearing songs, I already mentioned it on my channel before, but I heard Lupe Fiasco. And I'm saying, why am I hearing rap music? I'm not listening to rap music. I thought it was like a attack from the devil or something, because I didn't understand. Like, I ain't listening to rap. Why am I hearing Lupe Fiasco, Superstar? It would come in, and then it go out. No, there was no satanic educations and vices at that time. It was just, you are what you say you are, superstar, so have no fear. And I'm like, where'd that come from? Why is that coming in my head? I just couldn't understand. I'm trying to live right. I don't want to go into rap. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll hear a song and I'm like, oh, I gotta go hear it. you know. So, but um, through 6 months, it just kept going. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I finally took the time to look it up and look at the lyrics, and I said, and as soon as I looked it up, that's when the targeting went all in. Oh, like what? I was shocked because I've been sitting here ignoring that song. And then there's another lady on YouTube, that Sister Kathy, the cooing dove, that she was saying years back that when she can, her prophetic gifts is sometimes she get the word through a song. And so I'm like, wow. So the Lord was telling me the whole time, and I'm sitting up here saying, devil, I rebuke you. I rebuke you. Because I had no idea the notes I was using music as a prophetic thing to tell me something. And so I said, you know, I can't tell nobody because they're going to think I'm crazy. So I got to keep this to myself for a while. I sure did, because they was already trying to have the targeting going on to make me nuts. And so I said, well, this is going to have to be a secret for now. And so, you know, that been said, that I know I've been going on. But he was truly a man that I was trying to separate, you know, make sure I don't like him like that. I made sure of that, but it was hard because he was just like, he just says the right things, and then when I looked on the channel, like, oh, some of that stuff might be fake. You know what I mean? That's fake. But some stuff you could tell is him. And so I've lost the love for him. I started watching all his channels, and you know, as much as I was at the gym the other day, like, oh, I want to play. I could, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, I wanted to play. Oh my God. Don't you play it. It's a trick. It's a trick. But I stopped myself. Nope, I'm not playing it because, you know, I'm serious, man. I was a true fan. I guess you can say a supporter or fan. I call it a supporter because I don't like the word fan, you know. And sometimes, you know, I think that he would have it out with women and then he just say the wrong things. And I'm saying, wait a minute now. I'm supporting you, bro. Like, wait a minute. You can't say that. What about me? I'm like trying to cheer you on. And then one day I said, you know, maybe I'm doing too much. And then one day I looked at his channel and it said that he said, I like women to be a cheerleader. This is an old one because he had dreads in his head. He said, I like a woman that's going to be my cheerleader. And I said, oh, he mean his woman. So, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Because I do that naturally. Because I wanted him to win. I still do. I still want him to win, regardless of it, you know. But me, I'm moving on with my life, you know. Like I said, through him, I've met great people, and I think maybe that was part of my journey, you know, meeting good, righteous men, and you know, seeing them grow and evolve. Some of the content creators like Ringo TV, when he used to suggest him back then, like, I know he didn't suggest him, 'cause, you know, I know he didn't suggest him. And then, you know, when they made that video that I liked so much, you know, and then I turned back and I'm like, he ain't changed nothing. I can't subscribe to this. And then after he had the falling out, you know, you say, oh, so now you want to know? It had nothing to do with that, really. You know, I stay all the way out of that. But when I looked at his content, I just like, you know what? He changed. You know, and it's because he came into himself. You know, he's got money. You know, he's well to do for himself, and he's got his family together. So that's what made the change. He's into himself. He's become, and that made me draw more to him. Because I said, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be on New Breed Global channel. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a fan. You know, I'm a supporter. And it just made me say, you know what, I'm gonna stay on Ringo's because he's saying some real stuff here, man. You know, His stuff don't have to be directed towards me or anyone, but I'm just saying his he's the family man. He's got his kids and his wife, and you know, you know, I'm gonna keep watching his channel, and so that's where I started liking him. Like, yeah, he got dreads, and I said, shoot, he had dreads and everything. Well, I know he married, but he said he was into polygamy too, for real. Oh, hmm. So I just kept hearing what the brother said. I said, he handsome. Like, I never really paid attention to him, but he is a handsome brother. I'm not trying to hit on nobody's, husband, sis. I'm good, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, he's a handsome brother. But I hear what he's saying, and what he's saying, he's coming to himself. And I like that about a man. Yeah, he has a past. That's what I'm saying. Sisters and brothers, we gotta let people go. When people come in, um, and serve Christ, we have to let go of the past of what they've done. If they're not doing that anymore, let that go. Whatever it is, whatever sins, whatever. And I feel like he has evolved. He has evolved. They say he comes from the projects. You know what I mean? He's a Ray Ray. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna tell you something that y'all ain't understanding. I hope my battery good, but the thing about that, y'all don't understand that New York is very expensive. Mostly people who still work and take care of themselves still have to get on Section 8 because it's just that expensive. So, you know what I'm saying? So when somebody say he on Section 8 or food, whatever, it's very expensive. You're going to need a voucher to help pay your rent. A lot of people do that. So, you know what I mean? So that's where I understood that part, and I didn't judge him on that. So that's something people should know. New York is very expensive, okay? And so that's where I sided with that. But like, why y'all hating on him? He still stayed with his wife. I mean, I ain't nobody perfect, you know what I'm saying? But he still, shout out to his wife. I don't know her name, but you know what I'm saying? She saw a vision in his brother. You know what I'm saying? We got to clap for him, man, because this man was in the projects and he see a way out. He didn't resort to any of that negativity. That's where I'm hanging with that brother. Like, oh, you know what I mean? He didn't change his ways. Yeah, he had some stuff on his channel, and I said that. He had some stuff on his channel, and I was like, oh, Lord. But now, I mean, whatever he chooses to do, even if he says some things about it today, he's a changed man, and we need to respect our brothers that's trying to do the right thing. Stop holding on to their past. Or sisters, you know what I mean? So that's where I was like, yeah, I'm rocking with Ringo TV. Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, he's doing things, and you can see, and that's what I was talking about. When a man, sisters, we can't be taking care of men, okay? If you just see their vision out, don't baby them. You can't tell them what to do. You have a concern, you ask, could we talk about it? And he is, to me, I see, because I say it. There's times I was like, I ain't subscribing to that brother. Shoot, why New Breed tell us to subscribe to this brother? that was me. But then I'm watching, and I see, because I'm always fair. When I heard his story about him moving, I stayed out the way of that. I don't get involved in men's situation, but I'm saying, well, I did get swatted out of my money, so that's where I said, well, maybe this is so. And when I'm saying this, I'm not throwing away New Breed, okay? No, I'm not throwing away none of my brothers here, Rollo and all, and Brainwaves. I love all of them, okay? I love all of them. And people say, why you always on? Cause the brothers. I know I'm not throwing none of them away, but I'm just saying the rebuke was needed. The rebuke is needed because once you start, you being targeted and you achieve some things, the pride slowly slips in there. Haha, I've done this. And the reason that that you're targeting, you have the resistance, God allowed that because He's saying you have the potential of doing other things in life. If you can still survive and targeting, then you could be great at other things in life. Little did you know. And so that's why I'm not hating on them. I'm just, just it's kind of like I kind of feel like I was in a relationship, so here I am trying to chill. Okay, let's see what wrinkle talk. New brain. New who? Oh, that's like an old ex-boyfriend or something. Like that's how I feel. Oh, here he is. Everybody talking about Newbury. Oh my God. And he hurt me. He hurt me. I admit that because he was trying to play these mind games too. I'm not sure, but like I can get just like yeah, you sure can. I'm saying you sure can, but dang, you know, here I am seeing the prophecy fulfilled that God told the Most High told me, and I gotta leave it like that. That I had to leave that land. That I thought that I could be helping building, even if it's just a neighbor. I don't have to be your wife or your girlfriend or anything. I wanted to help because that's the generosity that I have in me. And you saying, but you're supposed to help yourself. I know. I know, but I'm just saying, there's certain things I can't do. I can't do, but I can help you. And some things I can help other people, but I can't help myself, and it's just a dysfunction. But sometimes the Most High say, "Hey, I ain't letting you out till you help that person." Sometimes the Most High do that to me, and I didn't know it was one of those things. So, I'm disappointed in New Greek Global, and you know, and everybody kept thinking that we were together, and I'm like, no, I wasn't, and I'm like, really, y'all thought that for real? Because even at a time, I admit my ex-husband just was like, oh, why do you like that? He was just like, when I saw that was something, a problem, then I stopped listening to it when he's out there, because I don't want no trouble. I care. I respect my husband at the time, and we have been divorced, and it was just something. He was just a part of our household. That's every time I think of my house, sometimes I do think about Newbury. Like, yeah, I remember around this time I used to be working out, and then our cook, and hear what's the word for my brother, and it's just a disappointment because of the time I invested in him. It had nothing to do with him, but it's just I understand to separate being a supporter than having a really personable relationship with him. And I'm saying, what happened to the other people? Hmm? Because there was a lot of people. I ain't gonna mention any names, but a lot of people, and I said maybe he's done that to them, and and that's why I say sometimes with targeting, people are scared to meet new people. That's why I was always saying I ain't no target because I don't care. I'll meet people, and I have the discernment to know if you're right or you're wrong. So I mean, I'm always open to meet new people. That's something, because they said, well, what about the targeting? I said, who cares about that? If they tried, I already know what to look for. So, and so, it's just a hurting to me of what I saw that brother in. And, that God said, I got to show you. I got to show you. And I was probably annoying him and everything. I'm like, damn, he could have just said something. You know what I mean? And it's just a disappointment because I really cared about him, even as a brother. Just, I don't care who you date. I don't care. Y'all leave him alone. If he want to be with that lady and she love him and he love her, then that's where it's at. You know what I mean? That's where I was at. I wanted him to win because targeting is not easy. And that's where I was at. And I wasn't trying to offend him or annoy him or check him when I'm in the comment section. It was just more of I'm encouraging. I agree. I just didn't want to repeat everything you're saying because I'm not one of those people. I'm a natural born leader. I don't need to repeat everything you say, but sometimes I will. And so, yeah, I got hurt because, I really thought I was gonna, you know, that he had remembered pocket watching. Like that's it. He remembered that. And then I remembered through targeting, they tell and stuff. And so I was like, did he really like that? And you know, it just was like, the reality check that maybe it's just part of the hustle. It's just part of the hustle, and you fell for it, and you're like, I thought I was seasoned in this stuff. He got me on that. And I was really liking Brother Man. Well, so that's my story. Um, you know, I think I still think he's wonderful in some ways. I don't care what y'all say. That's still my brother. But he has to learn how to be respectful and understand that, you still have women that support you. So don't, it's your channel. I can't tell you what to say on your channel. You be you. You know what I mean? But as far as seeing what goes on with them and stuff, I kind of shied away from it. I still want the best for him and anybody else who on these YouTube streets. I want the best. And it's sad because my ex-sister-in-law had involved him. She was a part of involving him, trying to get me to try to take my life. And I'm not blaming him because I don't. That's what I was trying to get the contact of understanding. What do you understand? This is happening, and then it just became a hustle, and that's where I'm saying, okay, cool, and that's where I can just pick myself up and dust myself off and move on, and I look back. And if somebody ain't good with me, I definitely don't want to be around them. You know what I mean? But really, I was just looking for help with me and my kids. Just do you know places or things? And I didn't understand. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to be pestery. But I'm still gonna live my life, and I just hope that you go ahead and live yours. And whether he hears it or not, that I'm still gonna be who I am. I'm still gonna support. If Ringo say, you know what, you're doing too much, you know, because I thought that's what we're supposed to do on these YouTube streets. We're supposed to support our our brothers and sisters and whoever else on this channel. Of course I'll be asking for people to reach out to me, and is this okay? It's a good thing to have feedback. You know, but it is what it is. So okay, I'm trying not to be emotional. Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray for him. And I want to pray for him. I just wish well for you. I ask the blessings overflow to overtake you. And Father God, I remove every evil curse, spell, hex, vex, voodoo, hoodoo, juju, jinx, divination, sorcery, root word off of him and his family, oh Father God. I ask that he rise higher in life and that he not do that to another person. I also pray for his children, that the blessed overflow will take him, oh Father God. And that he reaches out to you, oh Father God, in the spirit of pride. You said pride comes before the fall. So I'm asking that he get it right with you, oh God. Turn the tables around. And I know how hard it is. But when you target it, you don't trust anybody. I get guys trying to talk to me and everything, and I'm saying, yeah, sure. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I want God to help the deliverance of whatever it is that's going on with him, with me, that maybe I was too personable, that that I'm turning over a new life and understand that there's more out there for me. Hallelujah. But I pray for this brother and his family. Let the blessings overflow and take him. And no, I'm not bitter. But I know my place. I don't never want to be in someone that doesn't like me or felt I was doing too much. And that's why I was trying to reach out. So may God be with you. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ and family, I hope the blessing to you, to subscribers, may the blessings overflow and overtake you too. Because Tanya going to be praying for y'all. Okay? That's the end. Let me close out. Have a blessed day.